Yeah, I used to drive a school bus up there. And I think somewhere's in one of them books he put you could set his clock by a bus. When I drove up there, it was always on time. Well,
I'm
my
assuming-
grandmother come from Chinook.
Oh, really?
And Grandpa come from Missouri, Clarence, Missouri. And I was told he left for his health reasons, and I don't know just for sure what that meant.
Yeah, I
I
think,
think
Somebody was after him?
well, that's what I didn't know, but I guess the humidity was so bad down there that he couldn't take it. And he come up, I don't know why he left that Chinook country and the Bear Paws to come down here to the Milk River and the mosquitoes. But I imagine that Blue Joint was probably up the horse's belly then. It was pretty good country. And then he moved out there to where he lived, out by the, where you go down the Vandalia Dam. There was a house off the side that was where they lived. My dad was born there in 1910. And they used to go, they were building the dam then. And he'd go down and go under the dam and come up the other side and ride the train to school.
Oh, really?
I think it cost him 10 cents. Of course, 10 cents is quite a bit of money then. But,
So that was when they were building the Vandalia Dam.
yeah,
And he would get on to go to school. Did he go to Glasgow? He went to Hinsdale.
Hinsdale.
That's a pretty short trip.
Well,
Did it, and it stopped? It stopped at Vandalia there and stopped in Hinsdale? He didn't have to jump off or anything.
no, it was a local little thing that run back and forth. I rode it to the tournament one time
Oh.
because when I was a freshman, I never made the team as an alternate, but I had a place to stay down there, and my cousin Russell Betts, he didn't, so I said, well, take him and I'll just go down. Well, they didn't have any buses at the time, so they went down in cars and scoop shovels.
And this was where? The tournament was where?
Glasgow
In
at the
Glasgow.
Civic Center. So they had to stop and shovel their way through the snowbanks to get to town. And I rode the little train.
That would be kind of handy, really.
Was,
I think
yeah.
of that sometimes now. It'd really be handy sometimes if the train still stopped in Hinsdale.
Yeah, it was a handy little thing for kids to go into school. Never had any school buses. Dad started the first school bus here.
Oh, really? And what was your dad's name?
Edward.
Edward.
It was a Ford pickup with a plywood box on the back, and the heater you used blankets.
Oh, really? Kids all just hop in the back of the pickup and had
Yeah.
some benches back there, I suppose.
Well, then they got a real bus, but we never had a bus to go to the ball games or anything. We had to take cars. One of them that called us 5 seniors, his boys was Roy Hillman. He was the banker at the time. And I ended up being the driver all the time when I was a senior. We come, I guess, was back from the state tournament, and I wasn't used to that kind of a vehicle that really liked to go. And I almost missed a corner, and I looked down and I was doing 80 or 85
Oh,
at that time.
boy.
I was a little fast for.
Those little cars weren't really designed to go that fast, were they?
Well, this was a big old Oldsmobile. And it would go.
So where was that state tournament?
Conrad. Not a very good tournament, Tom.
It wasn't a very good tournament.
Well, it didn't turn out too good for us, but
Is that a dog out there?
He just
it's
scratched it.
tied up.
Oh, he's tied up?
But
Yeah.
we won the district that year, but they changed things around. They put Opheim went east, Nashua went to B,
Oh.
Oh,
and
wow.
Glasgow was A, and Hinsdale was C, and there was 3 teams from Valley County went to state tournament that year.
Oh, wow.
We were the first one from Hinsdale. And then they put Turner, Hayes Mission, in I think Harlem in our district.
Hmm.
And when you went up to Turner to play, if you didn't hit the ceiling, you'd stand under one basket and shoot into the other one. And if the ball got loose on the floor, well, you'd think it was a football game because there's 10 guys on top of it. A couple of guys in bib overalls were the referees. And we got down to Malta playing the district tournament. I was out front of the guard, and this guy run up and give me the knee right where it hurts, and then took off running. And I caught him just before he went into the locker room on the other end of the floor, explaining to him that that's not the proper way to play the game. I let him up, and everybody else was down at the end playing. I don't think they even missed us. But he stayed a long ways away from me after that.
So did you have a divisional tournament then after that, and then you went to
Yeah,
state?
that was in Glasgow at the.
Well, that's pretty
Civic
nice. You didn't have to travel too much until
No.
you went to state. How many teams were there in your district then?
Oh, I don't know. I got a scrapbook full.
There you go. Turner and Hayes were
Yeah.
in the district.
I don't know if Hoagland was mixed in that with him. No, maybe he was with Turner. I don't remember.
So who all was on your team that year? Do you remember?
Yeah. There was Jack Jensen. There was 5 seniors. They looked like that. Probably the only one you know is Dennis
Jack
Boucher.
Jensen. This is Jack here, isn't it?
Yeah. Huh?
Shouldn't have waited.
Oh, Dennis. Yeah.
Didn't realize Dennis was on that team.
I
A
think
little
he-
smaller.
So this is Jack here, right?
Yeah. That's me, and that's Russell Bitts, and Arden Bitts, and Frank Powell, and I know who he is, Jim Matfeld,
Oh.
Dale Shotnikoff, Roger Drabs, Bud Reagan. There's only 2 of us,
Yeah, pads. Only 2 of you left. Just you and Dennis, huh?
2 seniors left.
Mm.
This one and this
Oh,
one.
okay. Shotnikoff? Is that what you said his name was?
Dale Shotnikoff over here, yeah. That was the first year they come in with the challenge game.
Oh.
So we were down and we were 3rd place, but we hadn't played Bainville yet. So we challenged them. Well, at that time, whoever you challenged got their choice of where they wanted to play the game.
Oh,
They
really?
could play in their own
Did
gym
you
if
have
they
to go to
wanted
Bainville?
So we didn't want to go up to their gym and play in their home team, so we told them, well, you can have that 2nd place trophy. We just want to go to the state tournament. So we challenged them, and we beat them, and went to the state tournament, and that turned out to be a disaster. Poplar was he wasn't in our district, but
It was Class C at that time.
yeah, and they had 10 guys. You could run them in, 5 in and 5 out, and you couldn't
Ooh.
tell the difference.
Ooh.
Yeah.
They did. We got down to the state tournament down there, and Jack, he was 6'5". He could lift the guy off the floor on his arms when he went to shoot, and they wouldn't call a foul.
Really?
He had 4 fouls on him, and he went down and he stood just like this. And a guy run by him, and they called a foul on Jack on the ground.
Wow.
One of the guys was Oscar Prestigo from Chinook. And we thought him and Eddie Swanson and Carl Falgren was the
The
best
refs.
referees. And so we were glad to have Oscar up there, but he turned out to be just the same as the rest of them. And after we played 2 games, and after each game, some little short guy carrying a briefcase come down out of the stands and shook my hands and says, "Played a good game, it's the referees that beat you." Well, it was. Harmon Tuttle, he was a publisher of our famous Hinsdale Tribune. You know. Well, he heard A.O. Hefty and Rex Daly talking about how Belfry should win that tournament, beat us how they won it last year. And Harmon said, if that's the way you guys are operating, give me my money back, I'm going home.
If it's already decided before it started, there's no point in watching it.
We didn't have the best team there, but we knew Poplar could beat us. They beat us all year long. But
Well, especially if they're not gonna call anything.
Did
really
you get
can't
did you
beat
get to play another game, or was it just that one game?
2 games.
So who else did you play?
I don't remember now. I don't think it was Twin Bridges, but
I understand. I couldn't tell you who we played at state except for the team that we beat to win the championship. It's a lot easier to remember when it when it turns out good and gets you a championship.
yeah, that's been a long time ago.
So driving the bus for the basketball team got you interested in driving the bus, evidently, huh?
No, I didn't drive the bus. Well, all we had was cars back then.
Right, not to the basketball games, but you drove bus later, right?
Oh yeah. No, the reason I did that is because I didn't have any money,
That's a pretty good reason.
and I was married.
So how many years did you drive bus?
I think 7.
What route did you take?
All of them, but most of the one was north.
Oh, you got to do the north country. So you got to pick up the Eaton boys, did you?
Eaton boys and the Macaulays and the Swansons and he had of course Jim, he had ants in his pants and never sat down.
Imagine that.
And I kept after him to find the seat he liked and sit down, but he was always up bouncing around. And Frank Nelson, huh?
Oh, Jim McCauley?
Yeah. Frank Nelson kind of run his cows on the road.
In the long pasture.
Yeah. I was watching them, but one come out of the bar pit in front of me. I wasn't going very fast, and I hit the brakes, and here comes Jim rolling down the aisle up under the dash. I said, "You get hurt?" He said, "No." I said, "Now you see why I want you to sit down?" He said, "Yeah." So he sat down all the way home, but the next day it was the same. Yeah, they had the Camrood girls and a couple of Swanson girls, and they'd all get the giggles. There was nothing you could do about that except drive a little faster to get them on. I told one of the Eatons, I don't know whether it was Mike or Doc, a few years ago, I said, good thing you guys is good-natured, because I was a little tough on you when I was driving the bus, because I'd pick them up and sit on. You can't do that now.
I bet they were better manners than some.
Yeah, probably are, but yeah, they growed up pretty big. Oh, it wasn't bad. The only bad part about it was that they bought an old school bus that was already wore out the first year.
So you got to be a mechanic too?
No, but you hit a little puddle of water on the road and it'd splash up and get things wet and it wouldn't run. So I had to stop, take the distributor off and dry it out and go on again. And sometimes you had one brake and sometimes you didn't have any.
Oh, geez.
The brake line run right across where the rocks would fly up, and then they'd flatten the brake line or break it or something. And that was before they built the new bridge across the Milk River. You had a sharp turn to make. Well, I was trying to be careful most of the time because you never knew when you was going to have any brakes or not. Well, I come through there one time and stepped on the brake and I didn't have any, but there happened to be an approach right on the other side of the curve and the gate was open, and that's why I drove out in there and turned around and come back. Well, I was north of Macaulay's on that cut across road. Everything that was on the inside of the motor tried to get out.
Ooh.
So there I sat. Well, they had them old tube type radios and they couldn't call anybody, and you're not supposed to leave them kids on the bus, but I thought, geez, how long am I going to have to sit here before somebody comes along? And so I got out and started walking, and Johnny Mogan picked me up. And I was saying, bad things about the people that bought that wore-out bus. He happened to be on the school board.
Well, I guess you told somebody that it made a difference to, huh?
Well, I guess, but
Oh, that's funny.
they got one bus when I must have been, I don't know, junior or senior. They bought an old, well, I don't know what it was because it had velvet padded seats on it. It might have been I don't know, it was a tour bus or what it was, but they bought it to run this route out this way. You could hit them cushions like that and that dust would just fly out of them. But they never took it to any games or anything. And then I started driving this route out here once in a while, and you were supposed to go to the last family on the route. So, which didn't make sense to me, but that's the family at the end of the route was supposed to bring your kids back here. And I started driving, and you couldn't go in to take the kids. But over here below the hill at Ziggers, you stopped there because there was Daryl Betts had some stepkids there. And then you got to back out into the highway
Ooh.
below that hill.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't do it. I just drove into the yard and turned around and drove into Betts's and turned around. And pretty soon everybody was doing that.
Yeah, that was a heck of a lot safer. I bet the kids appreciated it too. That's a pretty long
yeah.
walk either way.
I had a little trouble with Andy Hillerson's bunch down there. I'd pull up there and here they'd just come around the corner walking up to the bus. I'd have sit on the highway and wait for them. I finally just got so I'd leave them. they got more prompt then. Because as soon as you wait 10 minutes for somebody, your schedule is shot for the rest of the trip.
I got nothing on that one. I'm sure my bus driver complained about me a lot.
Couldn't you get there on time?
And no, we were never on time. He did actually leave us a couple of times, yeah. We had to chase
I
him
probably
down.
would have too.
Then Mom and Dad have to take you in.
Yep, that didn't go over very well. So Mark has some good stories about kids doing kind of crazy things in the school. You got any good stories like that? Did you ever pick on your teachers at all?
We never done any crazy things in the school. We was always good boys because my dad said if you get a licking in school, you're going to get one twice as hard when you get home. And his ordinary lickings were good enough, I didn't.
So I actually talked to Teddy a little bit before we came out here, and she said you might have a good story about something about a teacher and a window.
You know, I was home that day. I really was, but I did get blamed for it.
So what's the story?
Well, it was Jack Jensen and Dorothy Jones and Russell Betts. This was in the old schoolhouse, you know, in the upstairs
Two-story.
window.
Mhm.
We had 3 bookkeeping teachers that year. I was a senior, and this guy was, maybe you run across him in years, he was turned out to be the Tupperware man out of Fort Peck.
Oh, really?
What was his name? Payton.
Oh, yeah.
But he was a little bit of the sissified type, nice enough guy, all right.
But
Well,
somebody the kids would find pretty easy to pick on, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have him all the way out the window. They just had him up on the ledge there to kind of threaten him. But he come in with a Tupperware party one day and walked in the house here and seen me, and his eyes got big. And he looked at the windows, I suppose. But, yeah, we had 3 bookkeeping teachers that year. There was Mr. Payton and Elfrida and
Elfrida Drabs.
In fact, the matter is, I asked her if she wanted to finish my report card because she left out one side of my A.
Was a big typo, huh?
Yeah, but she wouldn't do it. This other teacher, I can't think of what the heck his name was. He didn't like the girls. He picked on the girls and he picked on Russell Betts quite a bit too. But every time we won a basketball game, he gave us an A.
Oh,
We
really?
won quite a few games
Wow.
that year. So I passed bookkeeping. But yeah, he wasn't much of a teacher because
Yeah.
I don't do much bookkeeping now. But yeah, I was gone that day. I was home. Otherwise, I'd have got blamed for it. Almost got the paddle once, but they broke it on Donnie Christensen. And we didn't do nothing bad. Somebody had been throwing snowballs at the girls, and we come walking from uptown, and there was loose snow now, and we just reached down and took a handful and scooped it at them. And Bob Herman, the principal, seen us. He called us in the office and kind of whack us with that paddle, but they broke it on Donnie, so I missed out on it.
That was definitely a different time if they had a paddle in the office.
Yeah, they did.
You were there with the paddle, did you say?
No, he
Oh.
said that was a different time if there was a paddle.
Well, they did. There was always a fight or two going on, it seemed like all the time. Well, we had a snowball fight one day. I had a pile of snowballs and sitting up there, and Warren Morehouse come over and jumped in the middle of them, and I took out after him, and Brother Jack, which was older, he come in the school grounds there and was trying to get into it. Well, Bob Herman set up in the upstairs, look out the windows and watch the fights and see if they went far enough, then he'd go out and stop them. But he'd watch for a while. And every night after school, there'd be one or two fights. One of them was my cousin Bud Tanner and Ben Fewer. They'd have a fight just about every night. And then when they got done, they'd walk uptown with their arms around one another. Nowadays, they'd take a knife and cut you open. But I remember one time, Donnie Christensen and Russell Betts got into a little squabble, and they were sparring around, and Bud and Ben got into a fight over here. And everybody went and watched Bud and Ben, and they quit watching Russell and Donnie, and so they just quit too and went to watch the other fight.
Nobody's watching, there's no
No.
point in fighting.
Yeah, nowadays that's a little different. I just about got my grandson in trouble. And he was going to school in Hinsdale, and somebody was picking on him because he was crippled, I suppose, I don't know. So I told him, well, you don't have to put up with that crap. Well, I guess he got in trouble with the teacher because he didn't put up with it. Same way when he got down to Glasgow, they were picking on him.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to know which to tell him, when to stand up for yourself and when to.
Well, I think his dad said, I don't want to have to go up to the school for just one poke. This one kid was his friend, supposedly before that. Got to picking on him, and he hauled out and hit him and knocked him down. They thought he broke his nose, stepped over top of him and go after this other kid. Well, then they had that, I don't know, that Stormer had that big building on top with them cars in.
Mm-hmm.
He was up there one time, and somebody come and clipped him and rolled up the back of his leg, put him in the hospital.
Mm.
So I went up there to visit him, and Russ was there. This big kid was sitting there beside him. I said, who's that big kid there? I said, oh, that's the one Scott stepped over that other guy and was going to go after this other one too. I said, geez, he's twice the size of Scott. He said, that don't make any difference to him. Well, he decided he was going to be Scott's friend. He wheeled him around in a wheelchair. But he was a tough little nut. He got them boxing smokers they used to have between Glasgow and Malta.
Mm-hmm.
They had to quit them because it was pretty much a grudge deal. Well, we were up in the bleachers and this
Yes, you, thank you.
kid was down in the ring, shadow boxing and testing the ring out. And the guy up behind us, he said, God, I feel sorry for Scott. And he said, that kid's never been whipped in North Dakota in the ring. Well, all the matches that they had, this one judge, he didn't even look at it. He just voted Malta. Steve Bill was one of the judges there, and he just put his head down and shook his head because you could tell it was favored Malta. Well, Scott come in there with that other kid, and he just whaled the hell out of him. Scott didn't have no reverse. He went back up, bad leg. And the other one was Andy Falgren, done the same thing. It was only 2 matches that Glasgow won. So Russ was talking to that kid afterwards. He said, man, I couldn't get nothing in on Scott. Scott said, oh yeah, he did. He just about knocked me down once. But
Didn't let him know it, evidently.
yeah, he was doing some of that after he got over there in Williston. But he got married and decided maybe he better quit. And we had a knothead in college down there. I was supposed to get a basketball scholarship. So I went down there and I was registering, and I was down in Dillon, and this guy come up and said, the football coach is looking for you. And I said, I don't play football. He said, well, he needs somebody that can kick and can run. And, well, that'd make my head get big, you know. I thought, well, I can do that. So I went down, and we was out practicing, and after the play, and you walk back, well, these upperclassmen would come and roll up the back of your legs. So I told the coach about it, and he just laughed. Well, he laughed. I said, well, I'll tell you something, mister. It might be funny to you, but it ain't funny to me. I said, I seen a guy get crippled for life with this kind of crap, and I said, this football isn't worth it to me. And I turned around and walked off the field. And that was Lloyd Jones. He had trouble with that knee ever since high school. He had one of the big Indians by the name of Bird come and clipped him from behind and
Oh, really?
ruined his knee. He had several operations, ended up with an artificial knee and got infection in that. And so he had trouble with that knee all his life.
Lloyd did?
Yeah. Of course, the next play, we weren't a dirty team, but we were a get even team. Next play, that guy went out with a broken collarbone.
Oh.
Have you guys done it on purpose?
Not me.
He's pretty good at saying that, isn't he?
Yeah.
He was homesick.
Wasn't me, but
Yeah, I kind of had forgotten that Hinsdale had a football team. I looking through some annuals last year before the reunion and saw there were some pictures of my dad playing football.
Yeah. It was, I don't know, they had 1 or 2 years after I graduated, I think, later on, because I think my brother might have played. It got to be a kind of an expensive sport. And our track team wasn't, there wasn't really too much going on at the time. And our track was out the North Road to run.
Oh.
And our football practice field was, you're too young to know this, but out in front of the old schoolhouse, there was a vacant spot. And that's where we practiced, and it had all kinds of rocks and glass and stuff in
Isn't
it.
that real safe to be falling and diving
So
on?
would that have been kind of in front of the Majestic Theater there then, or?
Well, it was in between the schoolhouse and the old Legion Hall.
Okay.
Yeah, he actually probably knows more about it than I do because he's been studying so much on where everything was. Somebody said when we were talking about doing this, saying, you should have interviewed Edry McCauley because she would have known everything. I'm like, she's the one who started all of this. Because he actually interviewed him when interviewed Edry when he was in high school and that kind of.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little late now, but Lloyd Jones would have done a good one.
Yeah.
That's what Mark was saying. That's really too bad. Said
Yeah.
he spent a lot of time out with a bunch of the old time cowboys
Yeah.
and
Yeah, Teresa Jones had said I should have just stuck him in a pickup and drove around and let him talk about all the places we drove by, but I was in Norway at the time, so I didn't get the chance.
Yeah, see, I wished I'd have had a tape recorder or even thought about it. People like my dad and Ed Bundes were sitting around visiting, talking about things.
You might have 9 truths or 9 lies to every truth, but it was still a lot of fun to listen to.
That was pretty much true. There was a lot of history in Hinsdale and around Valley County when, back in the old days, they used to, well, the county, I think, used to go clean to North Dakota, I think, Valley County until they,
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it went from, when they took it out of Dawson County, it was from the river, Missouri up, from North Dakota all the way, I think, to Chinook, basically.
yeah.
They took Blaine, and they took Phillips and Roosevelt, and all those came out of Valley County.
And they used to steal horses somewhere down here, take them to Canada and sell them, and then steal them back in Canada and bring them back here and sell them.
That was a pretty high profit margin there.
Well, yeah, and then you kind of wondered when you get to driving around, see, like, when I was spraying that spurge, I had a guy here from Alabama or something. He was working for Jeff Pattison, and then he went spraying, and he was well, I called him the old fella, but found out he was 6 or 7 years younger than I was. But we drive out south, and I tell him about, people that used to live out here, the ones that I knew. And he couldn't believe it, how people could live in it like that. And then take him up north, and you go to some place like the dugout there on Willow Creek, and tell him about that. And the people up north like Duncans and Riggins, and he couldn't believe it. And you kind of wondered then how they made a living. I know my grandfather on my mother's side, they come from Kansas, and they were up in what they called the Kansas Flats up by Opheim, someplace up in there. And of course you had to go to town with a team of horses them days. So he'd haul a little wagon load of grain, I guess, down and haul coal or wood back. And then they moved over to a place up in Funks up there below the Lund place, if you know where that's at. And then they moved over here, and it was all the same. Horses and teams, and like same way with Biles up there, Louis, where he lived right up next to the Canadian line. Imagine living up there in the wintertime with
yeah.
all by yourself. And
Yeah.
there's my cousin and I were up on the river place that Johnson's had for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Calving the cows out. And we decided it was spring of the year, but the creek was still frozen. We decided we was gonna go across the creek for some reason or other, look at the cows or something. Of course, we were not very smart. We both rode across side by side and fell through the ice into the water. He went in deeper than I did. He was up to his shirt pockets, and I wasn't quite that deep, but it was still a long, cold ride back to that old shack and get that wood stove going.
I can imagine.
But, yeah, we got into rode all one night. His cabin and had a blizzard. And we rode all one night picking calves up, bringing them into the house. And we never had an orphan. I don't know if we couldn't do that again in 100 years.
Wow.
Pretty lucky.
Yeah, could you do that with sheep?
You know, I had a little experience with them coyote bait. And I wasn't all that proud of them. Had 1,500 head
Wow.
when I was growing up. And if ever I wanted to do anything, well, you always had to mess around with them sheep. And right after the war, my dad bought a International M tractor. And I had to go with the sheep to move them north up on Snake Creek, driving that tractor and pulling the wagon. And my mother didn't think much of that. I don't know how old I was, maybe 10.
Wow.
And we got up there in Funks where you drop down over the hill into Willow Creek. Herder thought he saw some sheep over on the side hill. So I was supposed to just watch the sheep, and if they got up, I'm supposed to head them down the hill. Well, they, being as how they were sheep, they went the other way. I'm in the
You
front
got
of.
that thing on him?
Yes, I did. I didn't want him jumping on everybody.
He's having a fit.
I guess he'll just have a thing.
Well, there's company, and they're not paying attention to him.
Yeah, it's my fault. I pet him.
I'd kick him in the face and throw him down, and I was a bawling, and he come back with the horse and the dog in front of him, and they turned right around and went. Everybody used to come and down and shear. That barn that's sitting on top of the hill at Russ's, that was the shearing shed.
Mm.
He had a 4-foot door with a ramp on one end, and then I had to fill the jugs for the shearers. I think it was Betts's and Laycock's and Elmo Pledge and Hellerstern's and Fred Keelman and all them guys had come over and shear. And for 28 days in June, they never sheared a sheep, and my mother had to cook for all them people on a wood stove. We had no electricity, so there was no fan or nothing. Hot,
Ugh.
muggy. Well then,
So how long did it take him to shear your
geez, I
1500?
don't remember, it seemed like all summer.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Doing it all by hand.
No, they had electric.
Oh, did they?
Oh yeah, they had a
That must have felt like the best invention in the world at the time.
probably. But old Fred come down there with his sheep. Couldn't get him to go up this little ramp and into that door. So he walks out in the middle of them. You didn't know him, I don't imagine, but he was a big, fat Dutchman. He just walked out there and started throwing sheep. I didn't think anybody was strong enough to do that, but pretty soon they started walking right up there.
I was reading somewhere yesterday, it was talking about the hard times in the 30s or whatever, and said that the sheep were better than the cows because the sheep didn't make a lot of noise when they were hungry or whatever. And that doesn't seem to make any
Doesn't-
sense to us from our
doesn't-
experience with sheep.
yeah.
Well, I guess every big rancher here in this neighborhood started with sheep except Frank Jones.
Oh, really?
That's the story I hear.
I've
That's
heard him
right.
say when they couldn't make any money with cows, they could always make some money with sheep.
Yeah. And then Dad tell about these shearing camps come around. Sometimes them sheep just like to just up and die on you when you're shearing them or whatever. So they'd drag them out. The Indians would come along in their wagons and they'd go along and they'd kick them, and if they sounded just right, they'd load them in the wagon and take them home and eat them.
Just to see just how far gone they were, huh?
Yeah.
Remember shearing once, and Craig Rutherford came to help us, and we was moving the sheep up the alleyway to the shear, and he grabbed hold of one sheep, like you say, by the wool, and went to move it, and the wool just came right off in his hands. Well, she had had a fever evidently not too long before, and it just come off in big old patches.
Easy to shear.
Ugh, it was nasty.
Oh, I think I could probably handle them now. Maybe she could go along and cook for me, and I'd go out and sit in the hills and shoot coyotes and rocks and stuff. But
Sounds like a great idea, doesn't it, Deb?
Oh, yeah, I can hardly wait.
But back then, I got kind of tired of them. But yeah, then Another story that these old timers would tell about was everybody farmed with horses. Well, when they got mechanized, well, they had surplus of horses. And they'd take these horses and run them out in the hog pasture, shoot them, and let the hogs eat them. And I guess there was a time or two that somebody didn't like somebody and shot him and his horse, and evidence was all gone. The hogs took care of it.
Wow.
Shot the person?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Mark always said when we had pigs, he always said you never want to get hurt in the middle of a pig pen because you might not ever make it out.
I've never cared for pigs.
Well, she thought I did one day. I did get hurt. I broke my back and didn't know it for
Oh, no.
a year and a half later. But
Oh, jeez.
come out of a basketball game, and I had my brand new overshoes on, so I took them off and left them in the car. I'd have wore the ones that I wore to the pig pen, and they warmed up a little bit. Nobody bothered them.
Yeah.
So she took off running the street, and I took out after her. And I went to slow down, and my feet went out from under me. I had one of them caps with the tie-down flaps. If it hadn't for that, I'd probably busted my head open right in the middle of the street, and I thought Katie Ellsworth was going to back over top of me.
Oh, no.
I finally rolled over and crawled to the car and went down. Lloyd Nevlin was living in town at the time, and everybody was haw-hawing, you know. It was funny. Well, I got down home, and I had saw I had a baby pigs storming, and she come home sick from pennies. I went down to give these little pigs some straw, and I had 2-foot boards, and of course big snowbanks and stuff, and I stepped over top of that, and I couldn't go any farther. I got straddled and couldn't get off it, so I just fell into the snow, and my dog jumped over and lit on my nose, and the blood was running down my face, and I come in the house crawling and
Oh, jeez.
spearing blood on the wall, and she woke up and thought one of them saws had got me down. But I had to come after me because I'd catch them pigs and castrate them. I'd tie them to my grinder. I always had a steel fence post along to. Well, I missed one late. I grabbed a hold of him down in here. This old sow wasn't even her pig. She come at me with her mouth wide open, and I was looking around for a club, and I didn't have one, but I seen something move out of the corner of my eye, and here come this big old dog, and he grabbed her right by the jaw and set her on her hind feet.
Oh, wow.
She went and stood in the trail. Pulled her off a rust one time too.
Good dog.
Yeah. I think Daryl Betts shot him.
Mm.
And a good time was had by all. Wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess some of the things we done back then wasn't too smart. We was up teeny there at that Grable place, and of course that was really a thriving village at the time. They had a post office, a store, and a schoolhouse. But along towards the end of the calving season, things would get a little boring. We'd rope one of them cows by the hind foot and then crawl on and see how far we could ride it in one of them cactus and rocks.
Oh, jeez.
That wasn't real smart. I sit up there all alone with my old 36 Ford. Then, of course, you have to take the rope off of the cow.
Probably a bit harder than getting it on.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure I'd ever get quite that bored.
Well, it didn't take long for us to smarten up. A few bruises. And
That was our summer vacations were up at the Grable place, and
you know,
Go and I would go over to Teeny to fill up our water jugs from the pump jack.
that's where Claire Duncan and Johnny Valentine, they'd stop and check on us two outlaws once in a while. And one day I just had baked 2 loaves of bread in that stove up there, and they drove in, and by golly, they sat down and ate one whole loaf. But that's what they were doing, was going over to get water. I don't know if you noticed it or not, probably not, but the stovepipe that come out of the house, it had some bullet holes in it. I had a .22 pistol. I used to go to the outhouse out there and sit there and shoot.
That was target practice, huh? Oh, I bet that impressed your folks if they, or did they never figure out that was your target practice?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, the good old days, huh? We used to ride up the creek to, I can't think of the guy's name, but it was up there on Biles. But we used to ride up there and visit, and he'd ride down. And we went up there one day and there wasn't anybody home. But we went in the house and he had a gallon jar of jam or jelly or something. And he had cats. All around the top of that rim was cat hair.
Ew.
They'd been, and, well, that's the same deal up at Fred Keelman's over here. Rode in there and here, jam jar sitting there with cat hair all the way around the top.
Well, as far as I care, it's now a cat jar. I don't want anything to do with it.
We didn't have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich that day either. Yeah, he was talking about these woolly buggers. One day I had the herder wanted to go to town, and he was my grandmother's brother. So I had to watch the sheep, and he wasn't a very good housekeeper. So the sheep were behaving themselves, so I thought, I'll clean up his wagon. But this one pan, I had a horrible time. I just soak it and scrub and scrub, and finally got it clean. It was moldy around the edges. And next day, my dad come and said, Uncle Ben's mad at you. And I said, why? We threw out his sourdough.
Oh, no.
We had to start over again.
Well, if it was moldy, it was probably time to start over anyway.
It was very sour.
He died out with the sheep,
Really?
not ours, but somebody else's. And his old dog, Buzz, they had trouble picking him up. He wasn't letting him close.
Oh, really? You
Sold
protect
the
him till
sheep.
the end and then some, huh?
Yeah, they sold the sheep, but they kept the lead sheep and the dog. And Uncle Paul Betts lived where Roy Jones is now. Bought some lambs, had them into the stockyards in Hinsdale. And he was going to get a bunch of high school kids to help him take them sheep out there. So he was going to feed them on the beet tops and grain and stuff. Dad said, oh, I'll take them out there alone. So he come out to Grandpa's and got the lead sheep and the dog, and this dog wouldn't chase sheep away from you.
You
He'd
bring
always
them
bring
to
them to you. So he got in the front of him with the lead sheep and told Paul to open the gate. Opened the gate, led the sheep, the dog come behind and brought him. He took him out to the
Perfect.
alone. Then we had another herder that he kept a real clean camp, but he liked to bend his elbow once in a while and go on a little toot. Well, Forrest Steen took him out to the sheep one day after he'd been on a little toot. And Forrest said, oh, where's the sheep? He said, oh, I don't know, I sent the dog after him. He said, well, the dog is still under the wagon. Well, the dog wouldn't work for him when he was drinking.
Oh, really?
So he went out again and he gave the dog hell and told him to go get them sheep. And Forrest looked out again, and here, a while later, here come the dog with the sheep. They were pretty valuable.
The dog was worth a lot.
I had one dog like that. He could almost read my mind. Like 200 head of cows and run them through the chute, just him and I. I
Wow.
always had them number brand and I was clipping them. He'd bring one into the chute, and when I turned it out, he'd go back and get one more and bring it in.
Wow.
He got sick on me, and I don't know what it was. I had him to the vet for, 18 days or something, and they couldn't figure it out.
Hmm.
But he was a good cow dog, and he was a good pig dog. 'Cause I had some of my brother-in-law's pigs when he moved from Opine to Warden. I was supposed to just keep him here for a little while. Well, they'd jump over the fence and run around all over, and I'd sick the dogs on them. And I was out here one day, and I was going to educate this pig I had my shotgun in. I was a pepper him in the butt, and he was going, and the dog would chase him, and he'd turn around and look at me, and I'd go like that, and he'd chase him some more. He almost had him to bits over there before but the dang thing come back. Well, I finally got tired of it. I just had an old wooden granary sitting down here with grain in it. I just opened the door and let the pigs go in there, and then backed the pickup up there and run them in the pickup and took them to town. Otherwise, I'd have probably killed them.
Might as well get something out of them. Huh?
Well, they weren't mine, but
What were the stockyards like in town?
oh, they just had the corrals and stuff. I don't know. They all gone now?
I haven't been back over there for quite
I
a
don't
long
think there's
time.
anything left. And so was that just to stick them on the train? There wasn't any auctions or anything, was there?
Oh, there was a scale there, so you
Oh.
could weigh them. But yeah, the train quit hauling cattle, and so they had to truck them then. So yeah, they used to haul cattle and sheep and stuff. Same way down to Vandalia here. They had a big stockyards down there. They had a stockyard, and they had an elevator, and they had a lumber yard, and a brick factory. They made the bricks for the courthouse in Glasgow, the first one, I guess.
Oh, really?
They had well, John David, I heard the story, and I don't know if it's true or not, that he jumped off a train and come into Vandalia there, and H.H. Nelson, his wife, was one of them, what do you call them, clairvoyants, tell the future. She forecast World War II.
Really?
But when we were kids going to school, this is the first grade, you drive by that big house down there, and you upstairs window, you'd see this curtain go back and this face in there. Well, of course, that was spooky to us kids. We heard that there was something wrong with her. Well, the next year I went to school in Hinsdale, but in the later years when Schroman's moved down there, well, Andy was sitting down there. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. They had a bunch of raccoons down there, and Dusty and Roy Jones wanted to trap them. But Elliot thought, oh, they're so cute. So he didn't do it. Well, Andy was sitting downstairs one night reading the paper, and he heard this racket upstairs. And thought Mrs. David had come back to haunt him. He called Elliot. Elliot went upstairs with his big 44 and looking around, and here these raccoons had moved in upstairs in the house and just made a mess. They used one closet for a bathroom, and so Dusty and Roy got to trap them in the house. He didn't
They
think
weren't
them
so
raccoons-
cute after that.
They weren't so cute.
That's a neat old house.
Yeah. No, I don't. Well, I guess I haven't tried it for a couple of years, but you can't hardly raise any corn around. I call them coons. And others, she tried to raise it down there, and I heard you put a radio out and turn it on, and they'll scare them away. Well, all they did was turn it up and have a dance. I had a radio, and the garden was full of traps, and I had to go out and pick all the traps up, shut her cats up at night, and pick the traps
I've
up.
caught lots of cats in live traps trying to catch coons. Coons would get, we haven't had problems for a few years, but they would get into the barn and get into the cat food, and pretty soon they'd get up in the rafters and have babies up there, and
I hate
made a mess.
raccoons.
Yeah.
You ever try golden melon fly bait?
You know, we used to have that when I was growing up, Mom and Dad used to sprinkle that around, and we had a dog eat a bunch of it once, and that wasn't so good, so I've never tried it.
Take this and mix it up with a little Coke or Pepsi. Make it kind of a slurry there. They don't get very far from it, but
You could probably even put it in the Pepsi can, and they'd probably get to it, and then your cats would be safe, huh?
Yeah.
I never had a cat bothered, but I did that dog.
Yeah. So
Well,
we
he's
had,
just a pup now, but
I think it was one of our springers got into it once, and maybe it didn't kill him, but God, he was sicker than heck.
well, all I did was turn my back on him, and he went around and took 2 slurps. He just about didn't make it to the house. I gave him some milk, and he'd come out of it all right, but
From drinking what?
that golden melon fly bait and
Oh,
Pepsi,
what would you like, fly bait and Pepsi?
I might for a little while.
About 2 slurps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be enough.
Grain and stuff out here. I had a couple of steers of Russ's over here, and put the grain in the horse trailer. Well, the coons was getting into it, so I mixed up a batch of it. And one of them got about that far away from the pan. Donna Christian was having trouble with them, and I said, "Why don't you try that?" She said, "Well, what do I do about my cats?" Of course, you can always get more cats too, like, but I never had a cat bother it. Oh, back in WW2, the big one,
Too.
they had ration stamps. And of course, the farmers got a little more of that, like, well, tires and sugar was one of the things. But my grandmother had rhubarb patch. It was green rhubarb, which I don't care for. I'd rather have the red. But the green rhubarb is probably why I don't like it, because she'd make rhubarb pie, and we'd come in from the hayfield and have iced tea, and she'd put the sugar in the iced tea and leave it out of the rhubarb pie.
Oh, yeah, that was totally backwards.
Oh, boy, I'll tell you, I couldn't drink iced tea for years after that. We was, for a while, drinking the powdered iced tea. I didn't think you could tell the difference, but you can. And when I was working at the school with Roy Schultz, well, everybody would take a break and go up to the cafe and have a cup of coffee or tea or something. And these the taxpayers, they got to complaining about that, because I guess we wasn't supposed to do that. I told them, well, heck with it, we'll just put our own coffee pot down in the kitchen. This is the summertime. If we want to take a 10-minute break, we'll take it. If we want to take a half an hour one, we'll take it. Well, then another time, Dale Zorn, he was a coach at the time, and he was going to work with me there one summer. And we were putting a burlap and tar roof on the schoolhouse. And I'd go up there just about daylight, because it gets so hot. I'd take my shoes off to see if my feet was blistered. And we got our 8 hours in, we'd go down and jump in the river. Well, the taxpayers got to complaining about that. Well, it happened to be that the bell was on the roof of the school at the time. So along about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, I'd sit there and ring that bell.
Just so people knew you were there.
Yeah. Vernon Schultz, he lived next door. He was the only one in town that knew he was there until I started ringing the bell, and then they quit complaining.
So you used to drive bus and then you worked in the school?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I was gonna get rich and come out here and go farming and get rich. That didn't work out too good. She said she worked at Penny's for 40 years to support me while I farmed for a hobby.
Support his habit, huh?
Yep.
Hobby.
Then she quit and they closed all the stores.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me so mad.
Yeah, I really miss having a Penny's in town.
I do too.
Well, they don't have nothing for old people anymore. We went to Williston a couple times and they didn't have nothing. They didn't have any work clothes, any work shirts or nothing.
Oh, really?
And that's where I used to get them all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I was sick. I didn't really think so, but they hauled me down to the emergency room and took my blood pressure, and this little gal said, geez, that's the highest blood pressure I've seen of anybody come in here since I've been here.
Oh, wow.
I looked up here and it was 245 over 113.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, wow.
I guess I was about to have pneumonia and a stroke.
Got lucky somebody hauled you in, huh?
Yeah, that's with a nurse down over the hill here, and her husband.
Kind of handy to have one of them in the family, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, it's a contest you probably don't want to be the winner of.
No.
Well, they give me a IV and they run some stuff in it. I don't know what it was. Sent me home with a bunch of pills, and geez, I don't know, it's just something that takes a long time to get over, I guess. I'm not coughing like I was before, but my ears are plugged up now, that's the only thing.
Hmm.
He likes that though, because he kept hearing.
A little selective hearing there, maybe.
Yeah,
Speaking of getting sick, do you have a lot of experience with the doctor's office in town? Cockrell?
Yeah, that's where I was born.
Hmm.
I was born in the, what's now a church, in the McIlvaine house.
Oh, right.
Right across from
The Baptist church, yep.
Jim, and, yeah.
I always thought that would be a neat house.
Yeah, it was.
It's a banister and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dr. Cockrell, he's the one that took my tonsils out, and our recovery room was over in the Chester Hotel, which was right next door. I think they carried me over there on a, I don't know, it was a grain door or a house or something, but I was a gentleman that day. I let my sister go first.
That was nice of you.
And it took 4 of them to hold me down to give me the ether. I can remember laying there, you gotta count backwards with that ether. And Mrs. Ben C, she was a nurse. And about all I could eat for a while was ice cream, which wasn't too bad.
Yeah, that didn't bother you too much. Yeah, Brady's the only one of my kids that's ever had his tonsils out, and I remember a good 2 weeks after he had his tonsils out, we were doing something down in the basement, and he looks at me and says, Mom, I don't think that was such a good idea. I think his voice was still a little funny, and he thought that that was just going to be the way it was forever. I said, oh, honey, you're still healing. It's going to get better.
She's the one that had fun with her tonsils getting out. She
Oh,
jumped
yeah.
up and ran away out of the chair, but they just done a local, they didn't put her to sleep.
Oh my, that was a bad idea.
They do that? That sounds horrible.
Yeah, I think I would have jumped up and ran out of the chair too.
Well, they said, well, you've got to get back there and get it done, so I went back.
Ugh.
Yeah, Dr. Cockrell pulled my first tooth, and I can still see him. He went into the doctor's office was right behind the bank. Well, he went in the back room, and he brought out this towel, and he rolled it out, and there was a bunch of these here funny-looking tools. He come and stuck it in my mouth and picked me up and shook me off, and I fell back down in the chair. The chair is still down at the museum down.
God.
That's one way to pull a tooth.
Yeah, he was a pretty good old doctor. We was lucky to have him, I guess, back in them days. I can remember going to town. I had tonsillitis real bad. It was a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit at the time, during the war.
Mm.
Safe tires.
Oh.
And that old pickup heater didn't work too good. Go to town to the doctor. In fact, back in them days, Tom Laycock wouldn't put a heater in his outfits. He said if you kids, you got a heater in the outfit, they won't take enough clothes along to keep warm if they get stole. So he made sure they took enough clothes along to start with.
I guess there's some logic to that.
Well, we used to go to these basketball games like Turner and Opheim and stuff. Well, we'd go this way, Lloyd Jones and sometimes maybe Dwayne Johnson would go along. And when we go that way, well, I'd stop and pick them up. And we had Edie and Dwayne and Lloyd and Evelyn, and we had a Chevy Caprice at the time, which you could have camped out in the trunk. And them guys, being as how they was cowboys, they had to take a shower and take off their long underwear and put on their hat. And here we take off for Turner, come out in a blizzard. They had 2 buses, and they were supposed to get all the cars in between the buses. And there was one place where the road had blowed shut. Well, Bob Claypool and John Rosendahl took off ahead of the buses, and they plowed into the snowbank. And I missed, and I was behind, and I had to stop once. There was a guy come behind me in a pickup, but I had to stop and back up and go around the snowbank. Get down there, and here they are stuck in the snow. And I said, well, we better get out and help. I said, well, golly, I don't know if I got enough clothes on, so I opened the trunk of that, and I had extra caps and mittens and coats and sleeping bags and blankets, a propane tank and a heater, and extra battery and jumper cables.
Nice. You were the true Boy Scout, huh?
That seemed like that happened every time we went to Turner. That Gordon Carlson, he left his car down there at least once or twice. Once that I know of, left his car alongside the road. They would hit them snowbanks, and they'd blow up and plug up his air cleaner and flood it out. I think Dennis Boucher and I was the last ones to follow him out of there one night. He just took off and left us. We didn't know where he was. We never seen him alongside the road. Got to Malta, and there he was gassing up, but he never slowed down enough to tell us that he was going on in. That wasn't a lot of fun. That was before they had the roads built really good.
Yeah.
We rode through the Hooterite colony and he's driving out in the cow pasture. Then you go to Opheim. Seemed like he always come out of there in a blizzard. Well, Lloyd, the faster he talked, the faster he drove. Well, he couldn't see very good, but
I don't think that ever changed.
no, it didn't. You come to the base up there, and it's just like they draw the curtain, it'd quit. But on the other end of it, there'd be cars in the ditch, and he was a little scary. I told him one time, I ain't riding with you anymore.
Who's that, Lloyd?
Lloyd. We went down to Jack Billingsley. He wanted to get some trailer parts. So he dropped Evelyn off here, and I went down with him. And he drove, and he said, I think we can go in this way. We're driving around out there. I said, you're going to mess around and get a shot driving around out here in somebody's cows. So he finally turned around and got back on the road. We got into Jackson, he got his parts, and we're coming back out. And he said, I wonder what that guy's doing driving this time of night. We just about come onto the grade and drove off the other side.
Oh boy.
I got back home and told him I ain't riding with you anymore.
We go somewhere together, I'm driving.
Yeah, well, I did quite a bit. So, and Evelyn, of course, she'd go like hell. She'd like to really push the pedal down.
So what was the road north before they made that a highway? Did you have to go through the Red Bridge, or did they put that other bridge in before it was?
Oh, they put the other bridge in. They put it, I don't remember when it was. That old Red Bridge, you mean it was down there in the...
Chester Place?
Yeah. I don't even remember driving across that. I remember going down there fishing. But
That back by the pump site?
I'm not too sure they didn't do that bridge the same time they done the highway. That highway, when they did that, that was a mess. I come up there one day and I was going to be real smart and go around all this mud. There was cars stuck in the mud, and so I just took off down through Donnie Timms and across the creek and up on top. And then I come back through Saco. Got the kids there just in time for lunch. Now you guys are on your own. I said, how you get home? I said, I don't care, but I'm not going back.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I got down to the bottom of the creek. I had to put chains on the bus and get back up on top of that hill. And then it seemed like in the wintertime there was two spots where the snow drifted across the road. One of them was south of Eaton's and the other one was right, well, just where Louis Bile used to live.
Mm.
I'd have to stop and shovel my way through it. I don't think they do that anymore. I think they turn around and go back, don't they?
I have no idea. No one goes up that way. There's no one living at Eaton's.
Yeah, I think they just go straight up. Well, no, they don't even go up that far anymore because there's nobody at Johnson's anymore either.
Nope. As far as they have to go is Macaulay's. I'm not sure if they really go up there because Heidi and Logan are both driving.
Yeah. I think occasionally probably they do it. They go to Macaulay's and then to the other Macaulay's at the McLaughlin place.
No.
That's about all there is for a north route anymore.
Yeah.
The Macaulay route.
Yeah, times have changed. It makes it tough on these small schools.
Yeah. Kitty Lou said that there was a good Eaton story about on the bus. Eaton boys doing something. She didn't really give me any info though.
No, it wasn't online because I didn't put up with an awful lot.
They behaved pretty well,
Roy Schultz drove it after I did. You know, Bill Mastonin.
He was my first bus driver.
Well, he said he just turned his hearing aid down.
Yep.
You remember kids?
Ours was a pretty rowdy bus. We had Bill Mastonin who just turned his hearing aids down and he didn't pay much attention to what we were doing, and then we had Ralph Ellsworth and that was a fun bus ride with Ralph.
Well, it was kind of an ornery son of a gun, I guess.
And then we had Gifford for a while. We went from Ralph to Gifford, and Gifford was a little bit more like you, I think. You picked up your garbage and you sat in your seats and
Who was Gifford?
Gifford Field.
You know.
Oh, Field.
Well, the problem with it is they get too rowdy and then it distracts the bus driver. Another thing about that bus is, you know where the camera place was?
Mm-hmm.
In that corner. I just let them girls off and it took off and was just turning the corner and I looked up and here's my front wheel with the bus going across the field.
Oh boy.
Good thing I had to slow down and let them kids out.
Yeah, no kidding. Ugh.
I had a terrible time trying to hold that on the road.
The Elaine Camrod is up in Whitewater now.
Oh, she is?
Yeah, she'd been over in Seattle raising kids, and her daughter married Ed Anderson from Malta.
Mm.
So they moved back. They're actually looking for a place around here now. They'd like to. Ed's working for the railroad, so.
I don't know them girls anymore except Teddy, but I
Yeah.
don't remember hauling her on the bus. I think she was too young. I can remember Elliot and Dell.
Yeah,
I'd go
I
up
bet they
there.
were some entertainment.
They weren't too bad. I guess because Elliot was too young. Because he'd come out there on his tricycle with the older boys, and he'd pedal on the way back.
Go with them to meet the bus, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't realize until a couple months ago that those boys had a Nashville record.
I don't know. They were down there. I didn't know if they.
I think they had one and then the company went under.
Oh. I got a couple of the records here yet someplace.
Elliot and Dell.
Yeah. In fact, the matter is, I got a bottle of Canadian Club that belongs to Dell
Oh yeah?
downstairs. Yeah.
How'd you end up with that?
Well, he played out here. We had dance in the shop when Russ got married.
Oh, that's right.
And when Rod got married too, the first time to Lana. And that's all he wanted was a bottle of Canadian Club. Well, I bought it and never did get it to him.
So it's still there?
Yeah.
Does it ever get rotten?
Oh, no, it
It's
just
better.
You've heard of
It's
aging
better with
whiskey.
age?
Yes.
Does it get better in the bottle? I thought it had to be in the barrel.
Well, it really does. I don't know. I had another one of black velvet. I took that up and gave it to Cliff Rice.
I'm surprised you can give it away. It's like me trying to get rid of Aquavit.
I don't mind velvet.
Hell, I didn't drink much after I got married, only once. I had to have my mother and my wife come to town and get me. Oh, a
Yeah,
couple
he was a
times.
little bit drunk.
But we made it. We got interviewed for a foster home that night and we made it.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
That's true, we did get interviewed for that, didn't we? That's
Well,
when we had Carol.
I'd stopped at Donnie Christensen. That's when they did the streets dug out in town, you know, but like that. And I went to town to get the mail and I stopped at Donnie's and generally go in and have a cup of coffee, but
Imagine that. A Christensen was a bad influence, huh?
he led me astray more than once. But he said, stop on your way back. I'll have a cup of coffee. He was burning ditches or something, so I stopped and instead of making coffee, he dug out a jug of brandy. So we sat there and visited and drank it, and then he went and got another one and drank most of that. He went to
Boy.
town and Lloyd was walking down the street, so I talked to him to going into the Rainbow and having a drink. Well, the sidewalk jumped up and hit me 3 times. So I thought, boy, I think that's enough. I went down to the cafe that Brady's had it at the time. Dave Reinhardt was living around the corner and he said, your wife's looking for you, wondering where you're at. I said, you go back and call her and tell her to get in here and get me home. Well, I lost the keys to my pickup.
That's probably a good idea.
Well, I found another set. She come in and my mother stopped and picked my mother up. One drove the pickup and I got in the car and Lloyd and Evelyn. Lloyd went home to get Evelyn to take us home.
Oh.
And you see the pickup was gone. They thought, oh. So
Thought
they
you
come
were out driving, huh?
Yeah, they come out here and Donnie Christian called. He said, say, somebody took me to town and left me here and I ain't got any way to get home. Well, that's tough because I ain't coming back. So he had to call, Arnold was gone, so he had to call his sister to come and get him. And she said, I don't know what that guy's name was, that interviewer. He's going to come and interview us for a foster home. She said, he's coming down the road. Are you going to be up or are you going to be sick? I said, I think I'll be sick. So I went in the bedroom and shut the door, and then I did get sick. And here's Lloyd and Evelyn sitting there, giggling, trying to keep from busting out laughing because that guy, yeah, he does sound like he's really sick.
But we did get to be foster parents.
Yeah, Russ and Teddy was going to do that down in Glasgow. So they was going to make them go to all these classes and all this stuff. They finally told them to stuff it.
Yeah, it's quite the process, I think.
Well, it wasn't then. Back in the old days. We had 2 of them.
Carol, how long was Carol here?
She wasn't here very long because she was thinking about running.
Mm.
And the guy said if she's thinking about running, you just as well put her on the bus or train or whatever we had then and send her back because she'll go.
Yeah.
But she stops in once in a while, or used to. Russ and Teddy went down to
Oh, really?
Arizona or someplace to visit her. Mexico, New Mexico or something. She was a little Indian gal, Paulette Latreille. And she got in trouble for stealing cars. Well, she come back here and flew into Glasgow and we went down and picked her up. She was working for the feds.
Really?
Turned around a bit, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other girl, I don't know what happened to her. she was a nurse in the Navy, I think, and it turned out that my cousin's boy was married to her sister
Really?
in Helena. And she was a niece of Paul Hoffman's in Culbertson, which is her sister's boyfriend.
Wow.
You got that, didn't you?
Kind of.
Yeah.
I got you're tangled up.
Yeah.
Quite a few different directions.
Yeah, the doctor. Who's that other lady doctor down there?
Where?
Glasgow.
Millard and Armstrong.
Millard's the one. We were at Milty Halleck's body shop. They had a party there. I was talking to her about it and said, yeah, that's Miltz is my second or third or fourth cousin, and Patty, be his wife, is my wife's first cousin. She said, oh geez, a bunch of inbred outfits.
That sounds kind of familiar, huh? I know all about how that works. When Mark and I first started dating, we went up and helped Jim move some cows, and Linda was about 10 or 11 at the time, and we were putting our horses back in the horse trailer, and she was walking hers down to the barn, and all of a sudden she stops and she turns around and she yells, "Hey Heidi, if you and Mark get married, you'll be my cousin and my aunt."
Yeah, so now you have, what is it, Nuzzins?
Yeah, they're my cousins. I'm their cousin.
So were there any good parties in town ever?
I wasn't much of a party person after I got out of college. It wasn't too long I got married. I went run across her. She run across me is what the deal was. I was sitting in the cafe in town, and she'd been talking to her sister Marianne, but she come in and plunked down in the booth where I was at and wanted to know if I'd seen Marianne. She just left her. So I never let her go after that.
Sneaky.
Sneaky. I regretted it ever since.
I got her a ring, and we were in town, and she come up to pick up, and I said, "Here, put this on. I gotta go north and get my cows," and I just took off.
Oh, what a
Boy,
romantic.
it was romantic.
I probably should have got down in the middle of the street on my knees.
He wishes now he'd have never done it.
After 62 years, it's almost too late, ain't it?
Might
Well,
be.
probably. I'll be in the rest home before long.
Yeah. Old times haven't been too tough.
No.
Genevieve?
Yeah.
Well, we used to have some good fights up there. We was up to a dance one night. I was standing alongside of Roy Schultz and Esmond Vanderhoff and trying to watch 3 different fights. And pretty soon here was a scuffle, and I looked over there, and here's Roy down on the ground and Esmond on top of him, and he said, "Roy, what the hell are you doing down there?" I said, "Well, did you hit me?" He said, "Hell no, I didn't hit you." Well, somebody sure as hell did. So Bud Hillman got on the hood of a car, and he said, "All right, USOBs." The band was inside playing yet. Oh, it was out there. The whole damn crowd was out there. He said, "If USOBs want to have a fight," he said, "let's have a good one. Seiko on one side and Hinsdale on the other one." The cars just started zipping out and everybody leaving. Then we were up there one night to a dance, and we were sitting alongside. Jack Jetson come over. He said, "You see them 2 guys over there?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm going to sit down here and pretend like I'm drunk." And he said, "One of them's going to come over and invite me outside. Would you come along and keep the other one off my back?" And I said, "Well, Jack, there's only 2 of them." So we're going out the door, and I'm bringing up the rear end, and I get out there, and the only one standing there is Jack, and he's laughing. And I said, "What's so funny? What happened to everybody?" He pointed down, and here's this guy's shoes. He stepped out of the door and let that guy have it and knocked him out of both shoes. Yeah. both took off running.
Left his shoes behind.
Yeah, I run around with him in high school and in college, and he take care of most of the trouble we got into.
Probably created most of it too, did he?
Oh no, not really.
No?
We had a problem that took a while to get solved when the seismograph crew come into Hinsdale. That's exploration. So we was going to get us a job, but while I was too young, I had to have my dad sign a release for me. So we went up there, and they had these three characters that was always in our lunch boxes. And Jack, I have to leave early in the morning to get him up and get him going because he was up generally out all night. And they'd sit behind him and he'd jerk up on the back of his hair.
Ooh,
I said, boy, you guys don't know what you're doing. You don't know what town living out.
poking the bear.
Yeah. So they had the kid that was on the guy that was dynamiting the holes, he quit. So this guy got to pick whoever he wanted, and he picked me. It made these other three guys mad because they'd been there longer. So we're out there one day and hot. And on Friday, if we got done early, we'd go home. And this kid come along, and we had geophones at the time, which you go and string out this big long cable and hook these, dig a little hole and hook these jugs onto them, and then you had to go pick them up. Well, he said yeah, I'm not going to pick them up, it's too damn hot. I said, well, I'll pick them up, I don't want to go home. So I went and picked them up. When I come back, I seen these orange peelers on the ground. They was in my lunchbox when I left, the whole orange.
Mm.
So him and I had a few words, and Jack got the other two in the coulee the same day. We never had any more trouble with them boys after that. And when I got done, I told my boss, I said, I just about bit my tongue off. I said, and the same goes for you. And he was an ex-pro boxer.
Oh,
We used to spar around a little bit up there. He done most of the sparring, and I went around. But he never said a word. He knew what was going on, I think. But they left us alone after that. We'd take off from Hinsdale and go north in that whitewater country. And we was up there, and this dynamite come in 5-packs, 5-pound sticks like that, and then you could hook them together, and we have a big old long string to reach from here to that window and stuff them down the hole and then set them off. There'd be rocks flying up in the air, and most of the time we was under the truck. We was on this side hill, and there was a guy down there raking hay with a team of horses and a dump rake. And I said, don't you think we ought to go down and tell that guy what we're going to do? He says, no, it won't bother that far away. He set her off, and them horses took off and dumped him in the rake.
oh boy.
Well, it tripped and let him out, but he couldn't talk English, couldn't talk American. His wife came out. I went down there and caught the horses and unhooked them and put them away. And he said he's all right, but he couldn't speak English.
Oh jeez.
Well, imagine what would happen nowadays if somebody done something like that. They'd own that seismograph company.
Yeah, no kidding.
Probably lucky you didn't kill him somehow.
Yeah, well,
In that rake.
I think it skinned him up a little bit, but yeah, he could have got killed. I don't know what he was, German or something up in that country, but and outside of that, I don't know too much about that North Country. Johnny Mogan might, but
Yeah.
she used to work at the Pennies, and weekends I'd watch the kids and bake bread. We had a big long deep freeze in the house, so she'd come home and I had that all covered with bread and cinnamon rolls and buns.
Nice. Can't beat that.
No,
I used to bake bread fairly often, but we just eat it all.
That's the
well, that's
point.
my take.
When you want to bake perishable food and let it rot?
Yeah.
I had an uncle that lived in Glasgow, and I think he knew when my mother baked bread, which was almost every day, but he'd come out and we was milking cows at the time, and he'd take that, separate it and take that big thick cream,
Mm-hmm.
put it on that fresh bread with sugar.
Yeah, you don't get much better than that.
Did you guys have cows just for yourselves, or did you sell some cream and stuff
Well, when we
too?
moved out here, we had, was our spending money was our cream and our eggs. She'd take them to town when she went to work and peddle them around.
My mom used to take milk to town, and we always got the Schwan buckets, you know, the big Schwan containers, or sometimes the big pickle jars, and that's what she'd put the milk in. Well, pickle jars were fine because you could
Yeah.
put the lid on pretty tight, but those Schwan buckets, if you hit a turn just right or bump just right, it ended up tipping. And we had, my dad went to town, decided we needed a new car, and I said, Dad, I don't care what you get, just make sure it's red. So he comes home with a little red Volkswagen Rabbit. Wasn't exactly what I had in mind, but I thought it was the neatest car, but it had no air conditioning,
Oh,
Oh,
and it was just tiny. And at that time, I think my sister was in high school and I was in junior high, and my brother was in grade school, and so we were not tiny anymore. And so we'd have to drive to town with the windows rolled down in the summer because it was just too hot, and the liner of the car, the ceiling would come down, so we'd all sit in the back and hold the liner up. And I remember my mom hit a bump or a turn or whatever and spilled milk all over the back end of that Rabbit, and so then from then on, this all summer long, it just smelled like sour milk, and it was not my favorite vehicle.
well, we had, I don't know, 3 or 4 cows we milked, but, and separate, and she'd take the cream down and, I don't know, I guess maybe you can't do that anymore. And eggs, and we had our own meat. We had pigs and beef. We got by all right, but I got so that it used to be there was a lot more people here at the time. And on Sunday morning, if you didn't want to have a house full of company, about 15, 20 people for dinner, you got up and left before somebody else got there, and you went to somebody else's house.
It was a contest to see who could get to whose house first.
Well, then, when you started doing something, you know, if you go in the afternoon to visit, then you gotta get home and milk the cows. Well, I thought, oh, there's a remedy for that. I never did wean the calves. If I wanted to go someplace, I just turned the calves out,
Yep.
let them milk them.
That's at the last couple of years that we had milk cows. We had 2 milk cows, and we had 7 calves. And we just turned them 7 calves in with them
Oh,
2 cows.
the neighbor short of calves, was he?
I couldn't tell you. Yeah, that was not my department.
I didn't mind milking them. When we were kids, my sister done most of the milking in the harvest time when we was out in the, cutting the grain. But we had one cow there that she'd kick me 3 times before I could get out of the way, and my sister go and milk her, and she never moved.
She didn't like you much. Huh?
I guess not. I didn't like her much either.
The feeling was mutual.
I didn't want to. I'm getting to the age now and don't feel too good most of the time, and I might have to sell them. But I kept them, she says, so I didn't have to go south for the winter.
Yeah, there might be something to that. Method to his madness.
yeah.
It's pretty hard to get rid of all of them. It's kind of
Oh,
nice to
yeah.
have a few of them around.
They're not a, well, I guess the only problem is that grass over here is better than what's on this side of the fence where they're supposed to be.
Always.
They like to lean over and push the fence down, but I haven't had any trouble with the fence growing. I
They're
went
just
over
they're
there.
just making your fences crooked.
Yeah, pushing the wires down, and I went over to get them last year, and over north of Russ's house, and but over there, and the gate's about that high off the ground. The cows was all standing there. The flies were terrible.
Mm.
So I opened the gate, and I generally take some cake with me, and I got one cow that I call Snoopy, and she's generally wanting some cake. I said, hey, girls, you wanna go home? And they just all took off, and they never even, here I'm standing with that cake, and not a one of them even looked at it. And they beat me home.
They were ready to get away from the flies, huh?
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't.
Did you ever do much hunting?
Me?
Yeah.
Not anymore. I used to, but I haven't done much. I got to shooting that long range black powder stuff like that. You ever heard of the Quigley shoot
Sounds familiar.
at Forsyth?
Oh, okay.
Last year they had over 600 shooters down there
Oh, wow.
from all over the world.
That's long range shooting?
I got a buffalo hanging from the grain auger up here that's 700 and some yards, but most of them other ones are around 800 yards. But these last few years I haven't shot much because she keeps making me go to the doctor. I had carotid artery plugged up, I had to have that,
Ooh.
so they wouldn't let me shoot. I had a complete shoulder replacement. I asked the doctor if I could shoot my rifle. He said, yeah, if you can get it up there, you can shoot it. Well, I couldn't get it up there.
Oh, darn.
So then the next thing was 4 bypasses.
Right.
So
You maybe have had your share now. You could
and
be
I had
done.
cataracts taken out of my eyes besides my knee operation.
Bionic man, huh?
Hell no,
Don't feel much like the bionic man.
no, I
Yeah,
haven't.
my mom just had her shoulder replaced last summer too. She fell and broke her arm up into her shoulder.
Oh,
She did a good job. But she did pretty well getting, they did a reverse shoulder, they call it, and they said she wouldn't get much motion, but she can get it up. They said she probably would never be able to raise it past horizontal, but she can get it up a little higher.
Well, mine bothers me once in a while. Yet they stuck a chunk of iron in there, pounded it. I said, what the hell did you do? Take a saw and saw that off and take a 4-pound hammer and drive that in there?
Pretty
He
much.
just grinned and said, yeah, just about.
Yeah. I know they have those shows on that you can watch and see just how they do those surgeries. I don't think you want to know.
No,
I think it's pretty rough.
Amazing what they can do, but I don't want to see it.
no.
this deal here, I guess I was 5 years too late. Well, they said I should have died. This here deal, they said your condition would have killed most people. So I'd have to carry the 5-gallon bucket along to walk from here to the shop and sit down in my air. I should have known something was wrong.
Yeah, that should have been a sign.
Well, I finally went to the doctor. They sent the results to Billings. And I got the one back on this year that it was clear for somebody my age. But I hadn't heard for 2 weeks on the other one. So Teddy and we went down and seen Dr. Armstrong for a follow-up or something. And I said, ask her or tell her in there, because she was the one that done the ultrasound or whatever it was you did to me, Glasgow. I said, I haven't heard anything from that, results from that test. So they got after him and called Billings. Well, they lost him somewhere.
Oh, geez.
So here I am, can't breathe and can't hardly move, and they finally called me. And I told her, well, hell, we got to be down there in the morning. We got to leave tonight. I told that guy, I said, you know, you didn't give me much time. I said, we're not Billings or Roundup or Laurel. I said, we're 250 miles away. Oh. So Russ said, oh, we just get up early in the morning and go down. So we get down there, and it wasn't long. They had me on the table, cutting me open. Come in the next day, and the surgeon come in, and he said, hello, Mr. Tough Guy. And I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. He said, how's your pain? I said, I don't have any pain. I must have had a good surgeon. He said, no. He said, you're just tougher than most of my patients. He said, you won't know if you had a good surgeon until after 10 years.
See if it sticks, huh?
Well, I guess I was a mess. I had scar tissue and adhesions and blood in my chest cavity, and I
Oh,
don't
boy.
know. Teddy was going to let me read whatever she wrote down there, but she never has it.
So did you feel amazingly better after you got healed up and,
Well, a little bit, but not really. I haven't been able to do anything since then, really. Russ has been, had anything to do here, Rusty only did it.
takes a long time to
It seems like.
get that strength back.
My brother-in-law had some Appaloosa horses. I don't know whether they're both stud horses or what, but he wanted to bring them out here and have Russ ride them. I said, no, I don't want them expensive horses out here. I said, something will happen to them. Well, he talked Russ into riding this one horse for $50 and a new pair of boots. And they're supposed to be gentle and halter broke. If you don't know my brother-in-law, well, you don't believe all that. Every time I went out in the curl, they just take off running. So one day I must have been kind of cranky and kind of stupid. I front-fronted this one, what I looked like the best horse to me, and I was alone, which was dumb. And I hobbled all 4 feet. I had a set of hobbles with a ring in the middle. And I went back and hobbled all 4 feet. Then I just go in the curl and I just run at him until he fell on his nose, and then he finally got so he'd stand still. Well, we decided we were going to go north with our cows. Thought we should maybe ride this horse. Russ said, how are we going to get a saddle on? I said, oh, we'll just tie up one hind foot, put the saddle on, and I hooked him onto my big old horse, and we went out here and rode him around and drug him around. And Lloyd and Evelyn stopped. So we come back in, and Russ said, how are we going to get the saddle off? I said, we'll just tie up a hind foot again. And Lloyd said, oh, I'll take it off. And he goes up and gives it a lot. They go a jerk, and that horse goes straight up in the air and comes down with his head in my chest.
Oh.
And I'm sure that killed me for a little while. So that was probably part of the scar tissue and the lesions. And I'd had some other little things like fell off in the house.
little things. Yeah.
Just typical ranch life.
Yeah, I was going to do that there, tuck and roll like they do in the movies. I did and drove the shoulder into the ground, and the ground is hard out here.
So that explains the shoulder too.
Yeah. But I had a pair of hard man-made soles on my shoes, and I got 2 flat roofs that I could have got onto, but I generally put my overshoes on. Instead, I go up this one here and crawl up there and just get off the ladder and start sliding back down. I just busted this elbow all up. When Russ and Teddy got married, my hand and arm was black. Here, I jumped off in the back of the tractor on them Heston, and I put a piece of angle iron up there to tie the hydraulic hoses to. And I just hopped off the back end and come down on that angle iron.
Ouch.
Chipped my elbow. Well, I didn't want to land on that, so I turned around and dove off of that.
It's been a hard life with him.
Lots of trips to the doctor, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did go to the doctor, but they could never find nothing wrong right away, it seems like. I went several trips and they've done lots of tests, and I went back to him to get the results of one, and he'd done the EKG, and he was looking at it, and he said, you must have to work once in a while. He says, you know, I can't find a goddamn thing wrong with you. Well, I said, I know what's wrong. I said, I'm sore here because I fell off in the house. I tore things loose there. And Russ and Teddy was living in town at the time. So I stopped down there and was going to eat dinner, and they weren't home, so I went over to my uncle's and had coffee, and went back to Russ and Teddy's and had some more coffee and eat dinner and come home. I just got sick all over again. Well, I went back and told him that next time that I don't know what it was. I'm sore here from falling off the house, and I'm sick because I drank too much coffee. So I quit drinking coffee for a while, and now I can drink coffee again if I don't make a pig out of myself.
Yeah. It's a little hard on your stomach.
Yeah, heartburns and stomach trouble. Donnie Christian, I used to sit down and drink a couple pots, and no one ever seemed to bother me. sit and play pinochle and with Donna and Donnie and drink coffee all the time. It never bothered me.
Yep.
Yeah, we had a pinochle game down there one time with Dean and Dan Ellsworth one day. And Donnie and I were partners. And I told him, I said, well, I got time for one more quick game. So the first hand we dealt the cards out. I got 1,500 trump and Donnie got 300 pinochle.
Oh,
Boy.
wow.
We mailed at 1,800 and they just stood their cards down. And I said, I told you I had time for a quick game.
That would be a quick one.
That's awful rare for that to happen.
Yeah.
Wow.
Of course, Russ and I play the girls once in a while. We don't have any trouble with them. But
You don't think you beat all the time?
once in a while you get lucky.
Yeah.
I don't know, it seemed like I don't know what's the matter now. I used to have more time for that, playing pinochle. This television, that ruins a lot of that card playing. And business.
Yeah, it does.
It eats up a lot of time.
We still do the whist marathon. We're just finishing up with that, so that
Yeah.
gives us an excuse to get out and play cards once in a while.
Yeah.
Mark and I actually went down to the Elks the other day and played in their little tournament.
Oh.
It was kind of fun.
Well, I've thought about it, but she don't like to play with anybody else. She says she don't play good enough. Well,
I'm not used to playing with my husband. I almost never play with him because when we do the whist marathon, you play with the other spouse.
oh, yeah.
And spouses never play together, so I
Well,
don't
if they
play.
do, they generally get in a fight.
Oh, you think so?
Like Lloyd Jones.
Oh, I used to love to play with Lloyd and Evelyn. Oh,
Oh, did ya?
that was so much fun. Especially the last few years because he was slipping a little bit, and so she would be telling him what he did wrong.
We were in there. Him and I were partners. They had a Calcutta, but I don't think we did on it. But we was playing two little old ladies, and I granded, and these two girls was looking at one another play, and Lloyd just sluff a king or queen or something on the trick. I never said anything. Pretty soon he said, "Did somebody grand?" I said, "Yeah, I did." We were already set.
Yeah. I played with Kelton Melby one year. He was my partner, and we sat down with Yvonne and Connie. And we sat down, and I can't remember, I think he granded, and I took every trick. And they were so mad. They're like, "Why didn't you grand?" It's like, I didn't need to grand. My partner granded for me. It was the first game of the day, and I was nervous, and I thought, oh, there's no way I'm going to grand the first hand, and so I didn't. And he accidentally did. He didn't mean to
Oh,
flip over a black chip, and oh, they were just so mad because they couldn't understand how I didn't grand and how he could, and
well, some of them guys that play together all the time, that's what they do. They
Yeah.
got their own signals.
Probably set you up a little bit better in the rotation.
Yeah, I tried to get her to go a time or two, but we used to go. And who did you have trouble with? Donnie Tim or Stubbs Rudder?
Oh, I don't think it was Roger was.
I don't know. Anyway, she quit. She was playing with partners with Lloyd one night. And he said, "What'd you play that for?" She just threw her hand down. "Lloyd, what the hell would you play? I haven't got any other suit." So I said, "Well, I'll play with him from now on then." So he'd start mumbling about playing the wrong card. And I said, "Well, at least when you grand, I'm not sloughing my kings and queens and stuff." Yeah, they used to like to play cards. And I used to stop and play cribbage with him. But it got so in the last couple of years, he acted like he'd never played the game before.
yeah.
And then when he come back from the hospital, Russ bought me a chair that you push a button to lift you up and tip you back, and I slept in that for I don't know how long. So Lori called, I think it was, and wanted to know if she could borrow that chair for her dad, so Mike come down and him and Russ took it up there and set it up, and so I took my walker up and he fiddled around for that for a while and finally pretended like he was riding a bucking horse in it. I could tell he wasn't quite right. So we had a cup of coffee and we got home and Mike called. We hadn't been home, I don't think, 10 minutes. Mike called and said, Dad died. I said, what?
Wow.
Yeah, he said, just went in the bedroom and was looking at his sleep apnea mask and said, I think I'll wear this one tonight, and just tipped over.
Wow.
So I went and got my walker, and then there was a gal in Glasgow that she wanted to borrow it, so I took it down there, and a few days later she shot herself.
Oh my
Wow.
I said,
goodness.
I'm not going to use that walker, and I'm not going to let anybody
I'm
else
not borrowing it. Nope.
Have you still got it? Is it here?
Yeah, I got it.
Wow, that's crazy.
But he wasn't going to do what Lloyd wasn't going to do what the doctor told him anyway.
No. Nope.
When he had that knee problem, he was running around out in the curl with his soft cast on and got infection in it. I don't know how long he was in the hospital with that deal. Had to take his knee out and scrape it off. And Mike, of course, I quit going up there to help Bangs vaccinate. You know, they'd have a
I never ever got to help work cows with the Joneses. I feel like I've been cheated.
I'll tell you, that was dangerous. I quit. Him and Mike.
I should say I never got to witness it.
Oh,
And Mike get to arguing and shouting at one another, and somebody's going to get hurt here someday. I don't know if they ever did. I think Ben Office maybe quit him too.
Nothing can make a person fire up their temper more than working cows.
Yeah, I think about the easiest one to work around with is Donnie Christensen.
No?
But, yeah, we would. I used to do it down on this side with Guy Wagner and Fred Kane. They never had any krills. You got down to Fred Kane's, you had to build a krill before you could
Oh boy.
vaccinate them. Anyway, over to Wagner's, and I thought, well, I think I'll go the other way, so I started doing this bunch. I think Dwayne Johnson and Donnie, I don't know who was all in there. Then we come to Lloyd, and I thought, it's pregnancy testing them cows, and somebody's going to get hurt around this chute. So I quit. Well, it wasn't long after that I didn't have any cows anyway, I guess. Except for them 7 head. So we didn't have to go south.
yeah. That's why he kept those so we couldn't go south.
Yes. Not a bad idea.
There's nothing fun down there anyway, is there?
Well, it would be nice just to go once.
But the people don't even talk American, some of them.
How do you know that?
I was
There's a
told that.
lot of people down south that probably talk American.
You think so?
I think so.
South American.
No.
Would be nice to get somewhere warm once in a
Yes.
while.
Just for the fun of it.
Just wait, July's coming up.
Oh. Good.
Well, February
It's
was
a-
pretty warm.
I think it's a rancher disease.
Do you
The,
think
the
that-
do not travel disease. I just once in a while I found out that I have to plan a trip. I have to say, we're going, you tell me when. You pick the date and I'll plan it and we're going to go.
Oh, we'll have to go down to Belgrade this spring. I don't care much for traveling anymore. I have to travel to go to these shoots. I have to go to Baker and Ekalaka and do this long range stuff, or North Dakota.
It's not quite far enough south, is it, Bev?
Well, Ekalaka certainly isn't.
It is that's about as far south as you can get and still be in Montana, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they had some nasty winters down there. What I wanted to do was, before I'm too old and can't make it, is have a 4-generation shoot down there with the leopard gun.
Nice.
Like Russ and I, and then Marissa and her oldest boy.
Yeah. How old is her oldest?
11, 10, 11.
Yeah, it must be up 11, I think.
And he just passed his hunter safety course and he's
Well,
been
perfect.
shooting a 4H pellet gun.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like you better put it on your list.
That's on my list. I don't know if Russ is always pretty busy. I don't know if he's got time for that or not. But
I think
Marissa likes to shoot.
he'd
But
make some time.
she had trouble with her carotid artery.
Oh, really?
It was leaking.
Hmm.
The doctor wouldn't let her shoot last year. But she shoots my little 25-20. Well, I guess it's hers now. Anyway, she's got it.
And you probably won't get it back.
No, probably not.
And she's a good shot. When we used to go deer hunting, there was always one shot, one deer.
Doesn't get much better than that.
No.
Oh, before I forget, I was supposed to ask you about Harvey Burns. I think that was his name that worked at the school.
Yeah.
Kitty Lou said that he was legendary.
Well, he was there a long time, and he was there when I went to work there the first year. We used to go down at noon. He'd let us in the gym. So we had to take our shoes off, of course. And then when it was time to go, the last one out, I don't remember if he had a paddle or not, but the last one out he was supposed to whack, but he never did hurt anybody. Yeah, he was there for a long time. All the while I was going to school, 11 years. See, I only went 11 years to Hinsdale. Got my education in 11 years. But I went to Vandalia the first year.
That's where all your real education was, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how long he was there, but he was there. Geez, he must have been there at least 20 years, I think. I don't know. Probably go back in some of his old annuals and look. I think Russ's Teddy has got my annual.
Oh, does she?
Yeah.
I have my Grandma Qualley's annual, so I have most of them. I have a few years that I'm missing, but I have most of them.
But that was another thing that was irritating about that state tournament down there. Rex Daly was something to do with the Montana High School Association or something. And he was our superintendent in Hinsdale. And he was still against us for tournament.
You couldn't have a favorite. At least not him.
Yeah, local ref and him, and you still didn't get any breaks, huh?
No, we didn't need any breaks. We just didn't need to get like they did. We wouldn't want it anyway, but
Would have been nice to have had a fair shake, huh?
yeah, I thought so. Well, we didn't play dirty, but we played good even. We were playing up at Malta under the lights before they had all these face masks and stuff. Well, I couldn't see without my glasses on at night.
Mm.
And I seen him kick the ball, and I seen it go up in the air, and I run over about where I thought it was going to come down, and I'm standing there like this, and he hit the chest and bounced off. Of course, everybody was booing then. But my cousin was headed for the end zone with the football, and this guy was chasing him, and I just run in between him, and he tackled me. Got up and smiling, and he looked and seen Russell make a touchdown, and made him mad, so he gave me the knee, and I never did get a chance to get back at him, but the next year his brother was playing. We pretty near killed him. Jesus, he was coming down the field with the ball, and I just hit him with my shoulder in the belly and picked him up, thrown him over like that, and Dennis Boucher lit on top of him, and my other cousin about the size of Dennis lit on top of him. And
Boy,
they took him out and stuffed his nose full of cotton and come back in, and my little cousin there, when he tackled him, he was right around both ankles. He got both ankles and he hit the ground and the cotton and the blood squirted out.
oh,
That was the end of his football
Well,
game.
that's not very good playing.
Good plan, we
No,
did.
it's not.
Well, if you get rid of the other team, they can't play.
Really bad
No,
sportsmanship.
it wasn't, we just got even.
Oh,
Then we were playing somebody and he got hurt. This guy come up to me and says, I didn't do that on purpose. I said, I didn't do that on purpose. I said, oh, that's okay then. I knew if he did it on purpose, he's apt to get hurt.
He knew what was up.
Really. Then, this is my uncle here, that's why I got to play.
Oh. What was his name?
Ernest Copenhaver. The coach on my first year was our ag teacher, Irvin Geisler. Have you heard of the Geisler toolbar?
Yeah.
Well, he was working on that when we were going to school. He was always showing us these drawings of this toolbar. Well, I always wanted one, and I finally ended up with one that was pretty much wore out, but I got one anyway. Bud Nassett built me a pair of skis out of some boards. It was reach about from here to that window over there. Hills weren't big enough; they couldn't go down.
hard to get much momentum.
Yeah, but there was a lot of rocks.
Yeah, as I was saying, if there was a big enough hill, there were plenty of rocks on it.
But Rod used to do it all the time, and then he used to drive the bus up to the ski hill or wherever that was in Bozeman. But he took Russ with him once, and I think that's all he went was once too. I guess it would be all right, but same way with golf, and I never got too much interested in that either. And now I guess I'm getting old, I could go try it.
you could.
No, I think not. I got enough hobbies.
Oh, that's good. You have to have some hobbies.
Well, that was the trouble with my dad. When he had to quit working, he didn't have any hobbies. You know, he was lost. He didn't know what to do.
Yep.
But I haven't been doing much shooting lately. We used to go to a lot of trap shoots.
Yes, we did. Just about every single weekend.
Take the boys sometimes and let them shoot. But it got kind of expensive. I used to almost make expenses. I used to get to the pay window quite often. But
That helps. Keeps you wanting to do it.
But you take these guys that go south in the winter and they shoot up here in the summertime and down there and shoot all year long. Well, you can't really shoot just a few times up here.
Yeah, pretty hard to keep up with that.
We were in Minot. My partner was Lee Thomas. He was a border patrolman around. We won the Annie Oakley there. And then there was an old fella from Langdon, North Dakota, would always hunt us up and want to shoot on our squad. And he come around with the score sheet and wanted us all to sign it. He said, of all the years I've been shooting, this is the first time I ever shot on a squad where everybody got 25. And that happened I got 4 25s that time. I got 100 straight.
Nice.
But it was fun. But when I had this shoulder worked on, they said, I can't pull a bow. I said, well, I give mine to my grandson anyway. He said, the shotgun is worse than a rifle. And the main reason for that is, we used to go to Billings and shoot them 500 bird marathons. Well, that's a whole case of shells. I could see where that wouldn't do my
Yeah.
shoulder any good. But it was fun. I left $1,200 in Bismarck once.
Oh boy.
Well, I was selling too high in the Calcutta, and I didn't have money to buy myself back. But I did get 5 $100 bills. So.